Hey everybody, Marcus Crawford here with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. Hey, I've got a new drone today and I've got to make a little bit of admission. This was a drone that when I purchased it, I was a little bit snookered by what they showed in their advertising. I'm not going to say they were dishonest in their advertising, but it is a little bit, when you look at the drone, I'll show you, you'll see what I mean. So what we have here is the Potensic Dreamer 4K. Now, if you look at that picture, it shows a nice, well, this side shows it better. You can see that what looks like a gimbal underneath the drone. And when I bought it, I got to admit, and shame on me for not reading the ad print better, but I made the assumption that that was either a 2 or a 3-axis gimbal, and I got pretty excited about it because, as you guys know, one of the things that I've always tried to do on my channel is bring affordable drones. In other words, show people that you don't have to spend, you know, $1,200 or $1,500 on a top-of-the-line DJI drone or Autel or something like that to enjoy this sport. Because what I understand is not everybody can afford that, and even I think a phenomenal drone like the Mavic Air 2 at $800, I think it packs a lot in there for the money, but that's still more than many people can afford. And even when you get down to the $500 level, not everybody can buy a $500 drone. That puts us in the Xeno 2, Fimi X8 SE range, someplace in there, or even the Mavic Mini for that matter. So I've often thought something under $300 and preferably closer to $200 that had a stable video and was a good solid GPS drone that flew well. Didn't require that it had a lot of range, but a decent camera so that you could at least look at this hobby and decide then maybe later on if you wanted to spend more on it. So that was my thinking when I purchased this Potensic Dreamer 4K. Now, I am disappointed. It does not have a gimbal on it at all. The camera is adjustable up and down, and it is also mounted in such a way with silicone isolators on there that hopefully there won't be any jello in the video. So that's another big deal. If there's jello in the video that you get on a drone like this, for me that just ruins it, and it makes the whole point of the drone just worthless. Then it makes no point. What's the point of having a video drone that can't take, you know, stable video? So what we know about this guy is that when we fly it, when you bank and so forth, it's going to tilt like an airplane. Now, what I'm going to say is that if it has no jello in that video and it's a decent quality video, I will still be able to recommend it. And this is called the Dreamer 4K. Don't let that 4K fool you. They say it takes 4K pictures, but the video is only 2.7K. That's not that big a deal. What you're more worried about is the quality of the video rather than the resolution. So we'll take it out and fly it and see that. Now, one of the things that I do like about it is it's packaged very, very well. Comes from Amazon. Potensic, I don't know if they sell any place other than Amazon. I'm not sure. I know you can order direct from them, but also the only other reseller I know, and there may be others, but the only one I know of is Amazon. So they tend to be a little more expensive than some of the comparable drones you might get from a Chinese retailer. But if you buy this from Amazon, it's at your house in 2 days. So that's an advantage. As opposed to, you know, I've got a Fimi X8 2020 that I've been waiting over 2 months now for. So that's a big advantage for this. The other thing that sharp-eyed viewers are going to notice is, boy, does that sure look a lot like a Fimi drone, and you're going to see even more resemblances when I open it up. So let's quit messing around. Let's open this thing up and take a look at it. Okay, I'm not big on unboxing videos, but because this is a new product and I don't think a lot of people have done it, I think it's worthwhile showing it here. So, as you can see on the box, Dreamer 4K GPS it says. It also, on the bottom here, lists the QR codes for the Potensic Pro app and all the other things. I'm going to say done very professionally, more like something you would see on a DJI product. So let's open it up. And I've got a confession. I opened it already once because I wanted to charge the batteries and have it all ready to go here. But we'll take a look here. Okay, so let's get that all opened up. And there you have it. So on the top here, we've got a bag with documentation. And I haven't looked at any of that. Of course I will before I take it out and fly it. We'll go over that. And then a bag with props in it. And let's see. There's only 2 props in there. I'm hoping that there's more props that these are just the spares, because we're going to be in trouble if we only have 2 props. But it's kind of weird that they would put those on top. But anyway, let's take a look here. So let's pull out the drone itself first. So there it is, the Potensic Dreamer 4K. And if you think it looks like a Mi 4K FEMI drone, boy, are you correct, because it sure has that feeling. I mean, right down to the orange vents on the side. Does have brushless motors. And then again, this guy has got some foam packaged in here, but you can see those silicone pillows that isolate the camera, so that's encouraging. And then you can look at this camera. This thing does not move in any direction other than the camera can be tilted up and down. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm disappointed in that. Well, I'm looking here, it does have a plug, so maybe at some point you could upgrade it to a drone with an actual real gimbal on it. And the reason that I say that is, those of you that follow J-Drone, I don't know if he has an in at Potensic, but he says that's their plan, is to eventually put a real gimbal on this thing, which would be huge. But you know, it's a pretty lightweight guy. It doesn't feel too heavy, but it is pretty good size. I mean, it's probably just, if anybody that's had the Mi 4K, it is probably about 3/4 the size of that drone. So it's not small, but it's not huge either. Probably about the size of the FEMI A3, I'm going to say, pretty close. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of what's inside here. And of course, what everybody wants to look at is the controller. And again, the controller looks familiar to those of us that fly FEMI products. And by the way, I see a wire on this antenna. I do not see one running into this antenna. So I don't know if that only means one of those antenna works or not. But it opens and closes just like the FEMI controller. And then your phone goes in the middle there. And then it does, for the charge cable, because I already charge it, I know that. There is a, well, I won't even open that up. There's a micro SD slot in there. And then on the left side here, that is the on-off switch. And we'll push it once and see it now. I was hoping it would give us the battery status. I did charge it up, so it should be full. So what you have on the other side here is takeoff and landing, return to home. And this switch is for sport mode, and it has an arrow on it. So that's regular mode, and it was in sport mode by default. Now, where are the gimbals? The gimbals are hidden back here. So there are the gimbals that you would screw into the controller there. So nice place to keep those, although, yeah, there we go, we got that closed. So this wheel, I'm sure, is for moving the camera up and down, tilting it up and down. And this one, I believe, is EV, although I'll have to read the instructions to tell you that. This button on the bottom has a picture of a camera, so I assume that is for picture taking, and I don't know if it's one of those single press for a picture, double press for video, I don't know. And this has a picture of a gear next to it, so I don't know if that gets you into menus or what, but we'll have to look at the instructions to see that. But you know, it has a good quality feel to it. So, oh yeah, I forgot, it just folded down like that. That's the way it came. You know, I was trying to tilt them over like you do on most drones, but it sure has a look of a FEMI product, doesn't it? Although it says Potensic there on the back. But like I said, that's not a bad thing at all. So let's look at what else is in the box here. So I'm hoping this is more props. Yeah. So I'm not even going to bother dumping those out right there now, but I can feel it. There's 4 props in there, so that's good. So those 2 on the top are spares. So it comes with 2 spare props. Now I've already had this out, and this is the charger. And man, it's so nice to see a nice brick charger that comes with a drone instead of those some of those phony little balance chargers or even USB chargers that you see on some of the cheaper drones. And there's the connection to connect it to the battery, and then obviously your AC cable, and it does come with a US plug, which there again, those of us that fly drones, hey, that's a bonus. And then you have a micro USB to micro USB cable, and that's for charging the controller. Sorry, take me just a second to get that out. We have the battery. So it is a smart battery. One press and you can see I've got it fully charged. So it is a 3000 milliamp battery, and it is also a LiPo. So you know, I'd say that's a good quality battery compared to what we see on some of the cheaper priced drones. And it is, like I said, it's a smart battery, and it gives you instructions on there. One press to check the battery, and then one press and hold to turn it on. So okay, so that's about everything. I am going to take a look at the documentation and figure out how to fly this guy, and we'll take it out in the field. And like I said, my expectation is that it has good GPS hold capability and stability, and that the camera takes decent footage with no jello, although because it does not have a gimbal, we're not going to expect it to be perfectly stable, but I think it'll still be a win. And at $299, I think my hope is that this thing will prove that it's worth the money. Okay, let's quit messing around. Let's get out in the field and put this baby in the air. Hey everybody, Marcus Crawford with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. Hey, so with the Potensic Dreamer 4K drone, we're out in the field and we're getting ready to put this bad boy in the air. I think we're pretty much ready to go. As you can see, as I said, it's just a solidly mounted camera. It does have a tilt function on there, but it's not a gimbal like I would have hoped, although it is mounted on these silicone isolators. So I'm hoping that will help us not get any jello in the video. And again, boy, this sure looks a lot like a FEMI drone, doesn't it? So battery goes in the back, and there are no sensors in here, so I don't think that there's any sensors or anything going on there. Give me just a second and we'll get this thing going. Okay, so we're going to put the blades on the drone now, the props, and there's clockwise and counterclockwise props. I know most of you have done this a million times, but because this is a beginner drone, some beginners may not know, so I want to go over it real quick. So what we're doing is, you can see on each arm it's marked CW for clockwise or CCW for counterclockwise, and then each blade is marked clockwise or likewise counterclockwise right there. So we're going to start with the counterclockwise side, and basically you just hold the motor and push the prop down and twist it until it locks, and you can feel that. So let's do a clockwise prop now. Same thing on the clockwise prop. Hold the motor and twist it until it locks. And you can feel it locked on there. You can test it. Hold it with your hand and you can feel it locked. So let's get the other ones done. So this is going to be a clockwise prop on the opposite side as well. And we're locked on. And same thing with the counterclockwise side right here. There we go. And the counterclockwise prop is on, so all 4 props are on now. Thank you, Sarah. So all 4 props are on the drone, and then I did put an SD card in the camera. I don't know if you'll be able to see it there. Yeah, you should be able to. So there's an SD card in the camera. It says it wants FAT32. I brought with me a 64 gigabyte card that is in exFAT, so I'm hoping that that will work. We'll find out when we get it in the air. All right, so now to get the thing fired up, again the gimbals are in the back of the controller here. So we pull that out, pull that little door open, and oh, it looks like they fall right out, so they're not stuck in there at all. I noticed this door, yeah, there it snaps into place. So yeah, you want to make sure that's snapped into place so you don't lose them. And unlike some of the other drones, they do screw on there. There again, a very uncanny resemblance to the FEMI line of drones. And I'm going to get a kind of a close-up here. I think you can see it. You can see there's a wire going into one antenna and not the other. Now, in the instructions, you have to hook up Wi-Fi. And what the instructions say is to turn on the drone and then you connect it Wi-Fi to your mobile device. It doesn't say connect to this, which is kind of weird. I'm hoping that the Wi-Fi connection is not simply your phone directly to the drone. If that's the case, we'll probably have limited range. Typically, the Wi-Fi range on your phone, if you get 200 meters, that's a lot. They're saying this thing is supposed to have 800 meter range, so I was hoping that it would be Wi-Fi from the controller to the drone. So I'm going to experiment around a little bit. I'm going to turn on the controller and see if that gives me a Wi-Fi connection and try connecting it to it. I'm hoping that that's what they meant in the instructions rather than turning on the drone. Don't know for sure. We're going to try it. So I'm going to fire up this controller right now, and I'll get my phone out and I'll do a screen recording so you can follow along. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything for the controller, so yeah, it's kind of weird the way this works. So let's fire up the drone and let's see then if we get Wi-Fi for the drone. And the drone, by the way, to turn it on is just like DJI. It's a short press and a long press. Okay, so I fired up the drone and I'm looking to see if we get a Wi-Fi signal from the drone. And there it is. So you do connect directly to the drone with your phone. And the password is simple. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why they bother putting a password, I have no idea, but they do. Let's see if we get a connection here. Yeah, we're connected, so that's good. The RC is on already as well. We've got 4 lights on the RC. So how that relates to the drone, I'm assuming then that the phone is talking to the drone, and then it must get a signal back to the controller somehow. You got me. But like I said, only one of these antenna has got a wire in it. So let's go ahead and put the phone in the controller. You just stretch out the controller, and the phone fits in there. And I'm trying to find the app. There it is, Potensic Pro. So that's the first time I've hooked onto this. Potensic Pro would like to access your photos, and I'm going to say yes. Experience the charm of nature. We're going to skip that. and it wants me to log in. Well, I've successfully registered, so now I have to enter all that stuff in again in order to log in. Hey, it let me log in, so hallelujah. So we are we're ready to go here, so let's enter device. And it says it's disconnected, and it does give us kind of a beginner's deal here. So why we're not connected, I don't know. Okay, so the drone is on, and obviously we're getting GPS data on here. So I don't know why it's not connecting, but we'll shut down here and we'll try again. So I'm going to shut down the controller and fire it back up, and let's see if that makes a difference. Yeah, it says disconnected, so I don't know. We're gonna try again here. I'm gonna get out of the app completely. In fact, I'm just gonna reboot everything. Okay, so we booted it back up here. Let's check and see if it connects. It should auto connect to the drone. Wi-Fi. Yep, it did. It's automatically connecting to the Potensic, and disconnected. Oh, that's not a good start, is it? Okay, I'm going to shut down here for a second, and I'm going to look through the instruction book and see if I missed something. I don't think I did, but we'll give it another shot here. Be right back. Okay, I've gone through a whole reboot process, and I've attempted to rebind the controller to the drone following the book, but I don't know. Let's try enter device again. And yeah, we just get disconnected. You know, I'm at a loss here, guys. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can fly it without the app. I don't know. So let's go. Let's hit the takeoff button on the controller here. So the drone flies. We just don't have an app. That is fascinating. Wow, it looks pretty solid. Let's see if I can start recording here. So I pushed recording on the controller. So we're connected to the drone. And you know, it has a pretty decent I mean, it's pretty stable. I mean, look at this. Let's bring it in a little closer here. Let's yaw it around. And this is in normal mode. I just wish I had FPV. I'm getting no telemetry. I'm getting nothing on the app. So I don't know what that could be. Okay. Rather than get too carried away here, I'm going to see if I can land it. That should be pretty close. Well, wasn't close at all, but we did get it on the ground. So why isn't this app working? That is really strange. So I wonder, let's experiment around a little bit. I'm going to shut off the controller completely, and let's see what that does with the app. So the controller is off. So really the only Wi-Fi connection is to the phone, I believe. I am going to shut off the Wi-Fi connection on my phone, and I'm going to see if I can fly it with just the controller. Yeah. So it's connected. I don't have, so clearly, you know, whatever was going on, so I have a connection to the controller here, but not to the app. So I notice with those, I'm looking at, as I'm moving the drone back and forth, we'll bring it in a little closer. You can see that the camera moves a little bit with the cushions on that gimbal. Anyway, so let's land it again here. Well, I got a little bit closer that time. So I'm going to shut everything down. I'm going to reboot my phone altogether, and we're going to try it again. Okay guys, I've got everything booted back up, and I'm going to enter device now. And look at that, all of a sudden we're connected. So we have FPV now, so we should be good to go. That's good to know. That was interesting. I don't know why we weren't connecting there, but rebooted my phone and we did everything the same, and we got connected. Pardon me here, guys. So if we're going, and the reason I'm going over this is because a lot of beginners here, and obviously some of these icons I'm not familiar with. But we're going left from the top left, we're going to go right. So obviously Potensic, and if you put on that, it takes you back to the main starting point of the app. And it says we're connected, so we're good here. But that next thing with the N in the middle of it, that is whether you're in normal mode or sport mode. So let me flip it into sport, and let's see if that changes. No, it didn't change, so it still says N, but anyway, supposedly that's what that's for. Oh, I don't have the remote controller on. Let's turn that on. Maybe that's why. Okay, the remote controller is on here. Let's give it just a second. Let's switch that into sport mode. And yeah, it changes it to an S, so we're good to go. So the next one is for headless mode. And I, you know, headless mode is not something that I am exactly sure. Well, I'm sure there's situations where you'd want to use that, but I'm not sure why. It's nothing that I've ever used. That next one is to lock and unlock, and I've read through this thing. What that means, I have no clue. I don't know if that means it tells you when the motors are on. I guess there's a quick way to find out. Yeah, that's exactly what that is. So when I turned on the motors, that went off. So that tells you when the motors are on or off. So just moving those together, turned on the motors, is the GPS mode. Tells you whether you're in GPS or altitude mode. Excuse me, ADI mode. Tells you whether you're in GPS or ADI mode. And then the next one along the top there tells you how many satellites you're locked onto. We've got 18 satellites, and that's good. And then the next one is the transmission signal level, and obviously we're in good shape there. Battery level, we're already down to 86% battery. The 3 dots, that takes us into the main menu. And then you know, that next little swirly button, if you go down, is to switch from video mode to camera mode. So I'm going to switch it back into video mode. And the next one is camera settings. Yeah, I don't want to do that right now, so we're not going to click into that. And the next one down that looks like the film strip is when it'll take you into what you've taken pictures of on the screen. And then obviously on the far left-hand side of the screen there, from the top down, that top button is to take off. Once you take off, that arrow will point down, so it would land in place if you hit that. And then the next one is return to home. Very familiar. This is very familiar to most people who've flown drones. And then the next one down takes you into the intelligent flight modes. And I don't think, you probably have to take off maybe before you can get into that, so we're not going to mess with that right now. And then along the bottom, you have the vertical, I'm going from the right to the left. You have the vertical speed in meters per second, horizontal altitude in meters, and then the distance in meters next to that. And on the very left there you have your speed, meters per second, and then your map. So let's before we burn up this whole battery, let's get this thing in the air, and we'll try some things out. Typically the first thing that we'll probably want to try is take it out a ways, and then we'll do a return to home. So let's start recording now. Well, let me go into the camera settings, and let's turn grid on. I like having that grid, as you guys know. Resolution, well, let's format the SD card just for the fun of it. No SD card detected. Well, that's a problem. There is an SD card in there. It might be too big. Okay, so that time it recognized it. So okay, so I don't know what that first warning was. So it definitely recognized and formatted the SD card. Okay, so let's look at our resolution, and we want to shoot 2.7K 30. That's great. Video segmentation. Oh yeah, so that's how long the video segments are. We're going to leave it in 5 minutes. That's the longest one. That's kind of cool. I'm pretty impressed with the thing. And then you got your EV right there. We do not want it in beginner mode. It's already got the distance limited to 800 meters. That's more than enough. Altitude 120 meters. That's 400 feet. So that's good. Circle flight settings. You can set it from 10 to 50 meters. Let's crank that thing out. So we set that to 30 meters, and the speed is on 3 meters per second, so that's good. And then you can change the direction, and it is on clockwise right now. Okay, so let's look at the controller. Yeah, so there's where we do the calibration, so I'm going to do that right now. Well, I'm a little embarrassed for you guys to see that. That was a pretty sloppy calibration, but it worked. We did get a calibration success. And that's all you need to do. And it does say that as long as you're within a 186 mile radius, you don't ever have to worry about doing a magnetic calibration again. That's what they say. So let's look at our battery. Battery looks good. We're already down to 85%. We haven't been in the air yet. Yeah, that's just going to give us our firmware versions and etc. So we'll get out of there. What we're going to do is we're going to start recording and we'll take off, and what we want to look at is stability and see how the drone yaws, etc. Okay, so let's start recording here, and let's get the thing up in the air. And the first thing we're going to do is a return to home. So we've started recording, and again we're in 2.7K, 30 frames per second. So let's go ahead and let's hit takeoff on the app. We know it'll take off because we did that with the controller earlier. Yeah, and it's got the slider. Perfect. This is all familiar stuff to those of us that have flown drones before. And you can see that it doesn't have a gimbal on it, right? You can see it moving around a little bit. And you know, like I said, I bought this drone thinking that it had a gimbal. Let me pick up the camera here a little, and let's move it in front of the camera. It's very stable. I mean, we got some wind today, up to 16-mile-an-hour gusts, and this guy is wow. Hubson could take a cue from this one. Yeah, this is pretty darn good. But you can see as it moves back and forth, you see me move. But I'll tell you, the FPV, although I see a little bit of lag on the FPV, it's pretty good. So let's do a droney here. We're not going to go too far. Reverse and up now. And let's see if we can drop that camera down a little bit. That's far enough. Yeah, so the camera, so now what you're seeing there is the drone, you know, normally that'd be a pretty steady shot. Yeah, so I moved the camera down a little bit. Normally that would be a pretty steady shot. But as the drone moves around, even with a little wind and so forth, that's the bobbing around that you can see. Now, what I'm more interested in is if we get any jello, etc. You're never going to get more stable than this unless you have electronic image stabilization, like the Parrot Bebop has electronic image stabilization that works quite well, or a mechanical gimbal, at minimum a 2-axis gimbal. But what we're going to do is we're going to hit return to home here. We want to see how well this guy comes home, and we're doing it on the app, and there again it gives us a slider, which is great, and it's giving us a beep, and here it comes. I'm telling you, this thing, I like the way it flies so far, and it came right back. And it shows us returning at the top of the screen. So I like that, and it's orienting itself too. That's awesome. Okay, so it's coming down, and this drone does not have precision landing but I'll tell you, it's pretty damn close. In fact, I'm going to lower the camera here so you can see it. It's going to hit the dang, hit it right in the middle of the H. How's that, man? If that's not impressive, I don't know what is. That's pretty darn cool. Okay, raise the camera back up here just a tad, and we're going to take off again, and let's go try some stuff out on this drone. So this time I'm going to hit takeoff on the controller, and we're still recording, by the way. So let's go ahead and take it up. Let's get some altitude. We had it pretty low there. So I'm telling you, the FPV looks pretty darn good. I mean, I'm not seeing any jello or anything. We're up about 65 meters, a little bit more. So you guys that fly with me a lot know that I go right over the top of the school over here often to get video. So let's do that right now. And I am full stick forward at about 5 meters per second, which is exactly what's advertised. We're about 60 meters away. And they advertise a range of 800 meters, so we're well within the specs. I think it's a couple hundred meters out to where I usually stop at over the top of this school. So we'll see here. And we got some wind, so this baby's fighting some wind. So you see it kicking around there. That's the wind. And I'm looking at the bars on our yeah, and I just let off the stick there, and you could really tell. So I'm looking at, oh yeah, no, we're really breaking. We broke up on FPV there, and our HD signal on our bars went down. So I'm gonna say that, you know, of course we've got a cell phone tower between me and the drone, but it's looking to me like, you know, you're not gonna, your real range is gonna be within a few hundred meters, which honestly I don't think that's bad. I don't really expect much more on this drone. So I'm trying to move the camera up to get a better picture. So yeah, we're obviously, because the wind is blowing the drone around, we're getting you know, we're a little bit crooked there, and that's just the way that's just the drone station keeping in the air. So I'm going to stop recording for a second, stopping recording now. And we're going to switch to camera mode. And boy, that messed with my FPV there. Yeah, it took a second. Now I got it back. So let me look and see. Photo quality. Yeah, it's in 8 megabits, so we'll leave it there. Well, let's move it to 4. And let's just take some pictures here. Get out of that. Let's take a picture. And now let's yaw around. Oh boy, that's a quick yaw. Oof. Boy, I barely moved that stick, and we're just in normal mode here too. Yeah, and we're getting a little bit of a breakup. Yeah. Okay, so I kind of lost what I'm looking at here now. Let's move that camera back down a little. Yeah, we're definitely having some signal issues here. Okay, I know where I'm at now. Trying to move it around, and I'm showing you guys this because this is the same. I overshot it. This is some of the kind of stuff you'll be facing in FPV breakup. So there we are down there. So I was going to take a picture of us down there. Let me raise the camera back up. And you know, you can see the little Pac-Man in the middle there. It's thinking about things, and the HD signal, and we're frozen on FPV right now. Let's see if we get it back. I think we've got a good control signal. I think it's the FPV signal that's breaking up. Yeah, so I don't know what we got there. I'm gonna try and take another picture. Yeah, it says disconnected. So let's hopefully it'll come into return to home. Yeah, we got nothing here, guys. So I hit return to home on the controller. Hopefully that puts it in. It should, when it's disconnected, it should automatically go into return to home. And here it comes. And the drone is coming down again. It came back to us. So we still had control connection, but we lost FPV altogether. And it has not reconnected yet, as you can see here. So it's coming down for a landing. So it looks to me like we got pretty good control connection, but the FPV connection is not good. So let's see how close it gets. Looking pretty good here. Well, it's going to be a foot or two off. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut down the app and refire it up and see if we can get that FPV connection back. Okay, enter device, and look at that, it connected right back up. So what that was, I don't know, but what I'm going to tell you is, what that tells me is the limit on this drone is not going to be the control connection, but the FPV connection, and you probably ought to stay within about 150 meters or so, or you're going to risk losing FPV connection. Now, I'll try it again sometime when I'm not in an urban environment like I am now, and it might be better. But let's take off again and let's try some of the intelligent flight modes out. So I'm going to put it back into video mode, and we're going to start video. We're down to 54% battery, so we got enough battery to mess around here a little bit. So let's go ahead and we're going to hit let's hit takeoff on the controller this time, and let's see how it does. So there it is. Okay, I'm going to walk out into the field here, and we're going to try. It's got a couple of things I think we probably have time to try. It's got a follow me function, and it also has a circle mode function. So let me get in front of the drone here, and maybe we'll see if we can get it to follow me out into the field. On the app here, you can see where it has waypoint flight, follow me. So we're going to click on follow me, and I think it has to be more than 5 meters high for follow me, so we'll kick it up a little bit, and it's doing something. So mind you, it's following the GPS is what it's doing. And the other thing I need you to understand is this drone has no obstacle avoidance on it at all. So it's not, you know, as you can see, because it's GPS keeping me in frame, I'm gonna see if I can point that camera down. The camera's coming down slowly here. So there I am. So I'm almost right. I don't know if I can, maybe I can increase that distance with the stick. Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's okay. So let's move around here a little bit. And there again, if it had a gimbal, it would make this a lot easier, but it doesn't. And there I just walked out of the frame. Oh, it's not moving, so it lost me. Yeah, the reason it, yeah, so as soon as I moved the stick, it took it out of that mode. So let's try it again at this distance. Follow me. No, it moved closer. So there may be some place in the app that you can adjust the follow me distance. But yeah, you can't do it with the sticks. So it's following, and you see it bouncing around there. That's because it doesn't have a darn gimbal. That's the biggest downside to this drone. Okay, so I'm telling you, the GPS follow me function works very well. So I clicked out of that. I'm exiting out of that mission. Let's move the drone back a little bit. Well, let's see. We're going to move it right over the top of me. And let me see if we can go 90 degrees down with that camera. And we can. The camera moves, but yeah, so it's right above me right now. We're going to go into circle mode. Yeah, this camera moves really slow. And it should automatically do that, yeah. I think I told it 30 meters, which may be too much. Okay, so now it's looking back at me. Yeah, here it is. And it's doing the circle. Guys, I'm going to get out of that because I'm not sure that I have enough room. I'm gonna bring it back over the top of me. I set the range too far on that. I'm gonna move it back to something that's not quite so far out. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into here, and if I can remember where that was. Circle flight settings. Let's move that slider back down. Well, if I can. Yeah, so you cannot change the settings. So what I'm going to do instead here is I'm going to get more altitude. I think if I get enough altitude here, I'll be just fine. So I'm going to go back into circle flight. And there it goes. And I've got it high enough we're above all the trees and everything. That's what I was worried about. I was low enough there. And let's see, once it turns around here, it should then turn around and look at me. And it is. So let's bring that camera down. And it's doing its circle. But boy, oh boy, does it bounce around. And it's doing a really nice circle. It's just unfortunate that this drone, I'm impressed with this drone. I'm impressed with the way it flies. Look at the flight time. I don't know how long we've been flying, quite a while. And plus I messed around there with setup and everything. But it's doing just a perfect circle up there. But unfortunately, this video is all but useless because you see it bouncing around, and that just, that doesn't do you any good. It just doesn't. I mean, it's, it just depends on what you're looking for, but I would prefer a more steady video. So, okay, I'm going to walk back towards the Canon camera. And hopefully that thing's still recording. All right, so I think the only thing left to do now, I'm going to get out of that, confirm, and yep, the drone just went to a hover. I don't think we've got 27% battery. Let's throw it into sport mode here, and let's see how fast we can get it going here. So full tilt now, and it's supposed to do 8 meters per second. And it's moving right along, guys. There's 8 meters per second. Need to restart the Canon camera. As I turned away from the drone, coming back, we lost FPV. So I'm gonna hit return to home on the controller. That FPV is a problem. I mean, you without, that's what you're looking at to fly the drone. So we put it into return to home. And let's see how fast it comes back to us. Yeah, it's moving. It's over 8 meters per second because it's in sport mode. And we're down to 23% battery. And we still don't have FPV. And we did not take off on the landing pad, so let's see how close it gets. I'll tell you what, the GPS accuracy on this thing is pretty damn good. That is spot on to where it took off from. It was a couple of feet off the pad there, and that's exactly where it landed. The GPS on this thing is impressive. Although, like I said, you're looking at the same FPV screen that I am, and it's just locked, and you know, that's a problem. That doesn't work when you're out there flying. If you're just flying blind if you can't see what you're looking at, so that's a downside. Anyway, let me stop recording to make sure that we don't have a corrupted file there. I'm going to get it shut down, and we're going to talk about our first impressions here. Or as my friend Mikey at Philly Drone Life would say, our first expressions. Hey guys, so I'm doing the conclusion for the Potensic Dreamer 4K in my office here. I got a chance to look at the video from this guy, and I gotta say, I'm disappointed. Couple things to say here. Now, if you look at that camera, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? And it looks like it's on a gimbal, and it's mounted on these silicone donuts there that look like they're going to isolate the camera pretty well to avoid jello, right? That's the worst thing, one of the worst things in the video. Unstable video and jello are just the two things that ruin video. And like I said earlier, I kind of got snookered when I bought this drone. I was so excited when I saw it because I thought Potensic brought us something with a stabilized camera. And like I said, shame on me. I leapt before I looked. I hit that buy button because this looks like a gimbal, doesn't it? But really, it's not. And it's deceptive. And they don't, in their ad copy or any of their advertising, they don't ever say that it's a gimbal. But you look at it and it implies that it is. And like I said, Ron Brown brought it up to me. He goes, "Are you sure that's got a gimbal?" And I thought, well, for sure it's at least a 2-axis gimbal. Plus the price point, $299, or basically $300. I think it was $299.99. Well, it's not. And so even after that, I thought, well, you know, I probably could have canceled the order, but I thought, you know, it looks like it's well isolated, and it looks like a quality piece. You know, as long as it has jello-free video, and we know it's not going to be terribly stable, but hey, it ought to be pretty good. The other thing is in their ad copy, they're very careful not to show you any video from the drone itself. They do show you some video. If you look really carefully on some of the FPV screens, you can see it, and it's bobbing around and jumping around. But that said, the video is just unacceptable. It is both unstable and has jello in it. And even I just took one picture. I wish I'd taken more. I'd intended to take more, but I think about the time I was going to take some more pictures, the FPV froze up on me, and that's another thing. And let me add to that, I was flying in an urban area with a big cell phone tower nearby, so take that into consideration. The control signal was good on the drone, but twice I lost FPV connection. The second time I wasn't very far away at all, and the FPV screen just literally froze up, so I had no visual of what the drone was seeing. So that can be a problem too. It uses the Wi-Fi on your phone I'm for that FPV connection, and you know, that's just not good enough. And at a $300 price point, I would hope for something better than that. Seemed to have a pretty good control connection, never had any issues there. And so that is the downside. But the drone itself, this is a quality piece. It looks a lot like a Phoebe Mi 4K drone, and even the controller looks like a X8 SE controller. Feels the same. Man, these brushless motors are nice. It went in sport mode. It went all of the 8 kilometers, or excuse me, 8 meters per second that they advertised, which is pretty good. You know, that's about, I don't know, 18, 19 miles an hour, something like that. On a drone like this, that's pretty good. 5 meters per second in normal mode. It flew great, and the GPS on it was awesome. It was very accurate. It does not have any sensors on it, but my first landing, it landed right in the middle of the H on the landing pad. Very, very accurate GPS. Second time, it wasn't far off either. I took off the second time off the pad. Then when it landed, that time, it landed right in the spot where it took off from. So clearly, somebody did a lot of work to make this a good, nice, flyable drone, and it is pretty good quality. The packaging is really nice. Really, I mean, the packaging is like what you would expect on, you know, a more expensive product. It has a quality feel to it. The camera itself, the camera quality itself was acceptable. Not great, but acceptable. But it's the lack of this gimbal that just kills it and just makes it not worth it for me. $300, you know, there again, I've said it a million times, go buy the Hubsan Xeno. That's what I'm going to tell you. Go buy the original Hubsan Xeno. That's that same $300, and it's a real drone. It has all of this plus a stabilized 4K camera that takes pretty decent video. So I can't, you know, if I look disappointed, I am. I had hoped for more, and I do feel like I got a little bit snookered with regard to the fact that this is an unstabilized camera on here. And that's, you know, that's partially on me, right? I should have spent more time reading the ad copy, but they lead you to believe that it's a gimbal, and they want you to think that it's a gimbal. And you know what? They were successful. So, I don't know, kind of weird. I really wanted to be able to recommend this drone, and the only thing I can tell you is if you're not worried about jiggly video, jello, and jumbly unstabilized video, you know what? It's a great flying drone. It had great flight time. It's got a smart battery. It's got a nice app. These are great motors. I mean, everything else about it I liked, but Potensic, you got to do something. You got to put a stabilized camera on there. You know, Parrot did a nice job with the Parrot Bebop. They have electronic stabilization in their camera, and it works well. So even EIS would be good, but without a stabilized camera, it's just tough. And at that $300 price point, the upside of Potensic is they sell through Amazon, so you can order it and you can get it quickly. It's none of that 3-month wait from China like with most drones. If you order this thing, you'll have it in 2 days. And so I will put my Amazon affiliate link down below, but you know, use your own judgment. You know, if all you're worried about is a drone that flies really good and is of reasonable quality, this is your drone. If you're looking for good video quality, this so is not your drone. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm feeling kind of bummed out over the whole thing, but yeah. So anyway, this is Marcus Crawford with the Idaho Quadcopter channel out. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. We will do more with this drone. We'll probably do a comparison with the SG906 Beast drone. The Beast drone does have a little 2-axis gimbal on it. I think overall this thing flies and operates better, but in any case, the Beast drone is also, you know, probably 2/3 the price of this or even less. I think you can, if you get that beast drone on sale, you can get it for about 150 bucks, and this thing was all of 300. So so we'll go from there. And man, Potensic, if you just would build the same drone, just put a 2-axis gimbal on there, man, it'd be a home run. Anyway, all right, that's it. Talk to you guys later. Bye now.